Hello everyone, Mr.ManUpchuck here. Today I'm going to be doing a deck tech on Ramos Dragon Engine. Ramos Dragon Engine is a legendary artifact creature dragon that costs 6 colorless, has flying, and whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos Dragon Engine for each of that spell's colors. Remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos, add double Wooburg to your mana pool, activate this ability only once each turn. He is a 4/4. A big way I have seen this deck made is +1/+1 tokens or a lot of lands and that kind of stuff. But I built him, I think, a pretty unique way, which is focusing on winning by commander damage, because it'll be very easy for you to get counters on him, make him really big, all that good stuff. And you can cast big spells with his ability in the early game. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a good. These are mostly mana rocks, but we're starting off with a card that is not a mana rock. It is Fist of Suns. It costs 3, and it's an artifact that says you may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. This is probably the best card in the deck. It makes it so you can cast huge spells for 5 and make them. It's really good, and I think you guys can see why in a 5-colored deck. Obelisk. It enters the battlefield tapped. It's for 2 colorless. Obsidian Obelisk enters the battlefield tapped. Tapped, add a colorless. Or tapped, add 1 mana of any color. Cast this mana only to cast a multicolored spell, which we run very few monocolored spells, so this is a good mana rock. Glass of the Guild Pact. It costs 2. It's an artifact. Multicolored creatures you control get +1/+1. This is very good, getting just that little bit. It does not buff Ramos because he's not multicolored, but it buffs almost all of our other creatures, and that's really good. Obviously, Commander Sphere and Arcane Signet. Those are both good. I would add in a Soul Ring and take out the Obsidian Obelisk for the Soul Ring. It's just better. I just have this deck is not. It's almost complete. I still need obviously a Soul Ring and lands and that kind of stuff. Then we move on to the creatures. Starting with the Endless One. The Endless One is costs X, colorless or colored, whatever really. And it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Now, this is a good overall creature for the deck. I normally use it and just make it come in as a big 10/10 just to put fear on the table, I guess is a good thing to do. I don't know, he's pretty good. Fusion Elemental, it's Wooburg, and it's an 8/8. Again, just a big creature to scare your opponents. Kind of get them plotting against you, which is not always a good thing, but in this deck it can kind of benefit from it in a way. Selvala, Selvala Explorer Return for 1 white-green. It's a 2/4 Elf Scout. You can tap it. Each opponent reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, add green, and you gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card. This is a good kind of group hug card. You get stuff from it, so it's good. Again, multicolored creature, making Ramos big. I'll add 2. This adds 5. Fusion Elemental adds 5. It's just, overall, this deck is highly focused on multicolored spells. Coiling Oracle for green-blue, 1/1. Snake Elf Druid, when it enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. Just really for buffing Ramos. Good turn 2 creature out. Maybe get a land in. I don't know. Either way, it goes into your hand. I think that's pretty good. Or either way, you get to know what card you're going to draw. Fairbarrow Elder for 1 green-white. Vigilance, it enters +1/+1 for each color among creatures you control. So it can be up to a 5/5, and you can tap it for each color among permanents you control. Add 1 mana, so up to 5 again. Very good late game to cast your bigger spells, stuff like that. Jensen, Carlathian Druid Exile. Human creature for green white. Again, adds 2 to Ramos, which is always good. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, scry 1. If it was all colors, create a 4/4 angel with flying and vigilance. That's good. And you can pay 5, tap to add Wooburg, which I think is also pretty good. 2-headed Hellkite for 1 in Wooburg. It's a 5/5 dragon with flying menace haste, and when it attacks, draw 2 cards. Again, just good card draw. Adds 5 to Ramos. He is flying in menace and haste. Just overall great creature. Glint-eyed Nephilim for blue, black, green, red. Whenever it deals combat damage to player, draw that many cards. For 1, discard a card, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This is a good ability because you can tap a good amount of mana, discarding a card, making it bigger. Then you just get to draw that many cards as long when it attacks. So I think that's when it deals damage, which will be fine because the deck is damage based. So for 1 in Wooburg for Okagachi Vengeful Kami, it's a 6/6 Dragon Spirit with flying and trample. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, if that player attacked you during his or her last turn, exile target non-land permanent that player controls. Good for getting rid of big scary stuff. Overall good card in the deck. Kaikar Wind's Fury for 1 blue, white, red. It's a 3/3 bird wizard with flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Sacrifice a spirit, add red. Good for adding mana. Adds 3 flying, which I think flying is very good in this deck. I'll probably add more. Atlopalani Nest Tender for 1 green, white, red. 2/3 Human Shaman with pay 2 colorless, tap, and create a green egg token with Defender. Whenever an egg you control dies, reveal from the top card of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put the card on the battlefield and the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in random order. It's good for getting big creatures out without having to pay mana. Sadly, it does not buff Ramos, but again, just huge creatures is amazing. Primeval Spawn, my favorite card to play with Ramos' ability. 5 in Wooburg, it's a 10/10 avatar. It would have entered the battlefield if it wasn't cast or no mana was spent to cast it, exile it instead. So if you hit this with Atlopalani, it doesn't do anything, sadly. Vigilance, Trample, and Lifelink. When it leaves the battlefield, exile the top 10 cards of your library. You may cast any number of spells with total mana value 10 or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So when it dies, exile top 10, and you basically get to cast 10 as many cards as you want from there, as long as their total mana value of the cards you're casting adds 10 or less, which is pretty good. I'd say it's a fair ability. And then Fegeja, I'm definitely saying that wrong. Phology Wayfarer for 2 and a green. It's all colors. This ability does not affect color identity, sadly. Multi-color spells you have convoked. When creatures you can help cast those spells. Each creature you tap while casting a multicolored spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of any color that creature is. So again, just basically can turn your creatures into mana dorks, which is pretty cool. Baleful Strix for blue and a black. It's a 1/1 bird with flying death touch. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Just getting a flying death toucher is good because, or actually, it's really good for defending. So someone knows, hey, big creature, my commander, if they're going to attack with it, I'm just going to block with this. So very cool. Knight of New Alara for 2 green, white. Each multicolored creature you control gets +1/+1 for each of its colors, so up to +5/+5, which is amazing. Again, just such a good card in this deck. Bayard, Steward of Argy for 2 white. This is my only monocolored creature in this deck. Legendary creature, human soldier for vigilance. Creatures can attack you or planeswalkers you control unless they pay 1 for each of those creatures. This is really good against token decks mainly, which I see a lot, so I figured it was good to throw in. I don't know, it's a good control piece. Maelstrom Angel for Wooburg, 5/5 creature angel with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's insane. This card is also very, very good. Again, being able to cast spells from your hand for free is really, really good. Quain, Inherent Meddler. I just like this card. It's not amazing, but again, just is good. Adds 2 for 1. It's a white and a blue, so it adds 2 to Ramos. Tap each player may draw a card, and then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. So again, just a good piece in the deck to help you with cards. Arene, Angel of Rebirth for 2 red, green, white, flying. Other multicolored creatures you control get +1/+0. Whenever a multicolored creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Good card. Definitely would put it in. Surak Dragonclaw for 2 green, blue, red. Flash, this spell can't be countered. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Other creatures you control have trample. That's the best part about this card. Very good. Making it so your creatures can't be countered makes it so you don't have to worry about your big, expensive spells being countered right away. Now, those were the creatures. Now I'm going to move on to the only Planeswalker. Jared Carlathion for Wooburg. +1, create a 3/3 Kavu with trample. -3, choose 2 target creatures for each +1/+. For each of them, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the number of colors it is. So again, up to +5/+5. Making my creatures big is fun. -6, return target multicolored card from your graveyard to your hand. If the card was all colors, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. Probably one of the only good, I think it might be one of the only Wooburg 5-color Planeswalkers. This one I definitely think is the best. I highly recommend adding him to any 5-colored deck that uses a lot of multicolored stuff. Very good. I only have 2 enchantments for this deck. Maelstrom Nexus for Wooburg. Each spell you cast each turn is Cascade, meaning you get to pay play cards for free as each turn. It's cool. And then Mana Cannons, 2 in a red. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, it does X damage to any target where X is the number of colors that spell is. This is really good because it's up to 5, and a lot of ours are Wooburg, as you saw. So that's, again, great card to put in. Now, sorceries. A lot of these are ramp spells, believe it or not. Merciless Eviction for 4 black-white. It's a exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, planeswalkers. You could use one of these. Very good, amazing board wipe. Kodama's Reach, a Cultivate, obviously. Every green deck should have this. Radiant Flames, 2 in a red. It deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of spells spent this turn, so up to 3 damage to each creature. That's pretty good. Search for Tomorrow. Time Wipe. Turn a creature you control your hand, then destroy all creatures. You use this on Ramos to save him, because I don't want to pay 6. I don't want to have to pay 8 for him. And then you get to time, and then you get to board wipe. A Farseek. An Explore. Migration Path. Explosive Vegetation. Eerie Ultiminium for 2 white, 3 black, 2 green. Return any of number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. Board wipe trips happened. Send your commander to the graveyard. Cast this the next turn, and you get your free commander. It's really, really good. This is probably when you have the mana for it, it is very good, and you almost always do with Ramos. So amazing. Painful Truths for 2 and a black. You draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast the spell this turn, so up to 3 again. There's a pretty common thing with 3 for some reason. Dune Blast for 4 white, black, green. Choose up to 1 creature, destroy the rest. So you choose Ramos, blow up everything else. Very good. Lavalanche for X, black, red, green. So sorcery deals X damage to target player or planeswalker, and each creature that player or that planeswalker's controller controls. Yeah, use all your mana on this on one turn and just hopefully kill or wipe one of your opponent's board. Very good. Conflux, which really isn't that good in this deck, I have to be entirely honest. There's a big issue. You get one for 3 in Wooburg. You get one spell of each color from your graveyard. You get to tutor one spell of each color. The problem with that though is that you don't really run that many tutors. Not many like base things. There might be like 2 blue. Maybe a black. I know there's a black. There's multiple red. There's a lot of green. There's a couple white. It's not terrible, but it's not amazing in this deck. Yeah, it could be better. It's mainly just getting the counters on Ramos. Iridian Maelstrom for Wooburg. Destroy each creature that isn't all colors. Our Ramos is, and a lot of our board is, so this is very good to use on your opponents. This deck is kind of mean, I gotta be honest, a little bit, but it's not too bad because it's pretty slow, all things considered. Next, the mana base, which is actually not that bad. There are. Boop, boop. Give me 1 second. Okay, instance. Sorry, I forgot about instance. Naya Charm, Sultai Charm, Abzan Charm. That's it. Okay, these are the charms. Basically, you pay that amount of the 3. So for Naya Charm, it's red, green, white. Sultai Charm, it's black, green, blue. Abzan Charm, it's white, black, green. And they all say choose one, and you get 3 options. They're good. They're good. Then there's a Path to Exile. Terminate, which is good. Unite the Coalition for 2 in Wooburg. Choose 5. You may choose the same one more than once. Target permanent phases out, which means it's untouchable for a turn. Target player draws a card, which is one I use the most. Exile target player's graveyard, which is okay. Unite the Coalition, deals 2 damage to any target. That's good. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Very good card. I'd say it's very efficient at what it does. Growth Spiral. Draw a card, put a land from your hand on the battlefield for green and blue. Echoing Truth. Return target non-land permanent and all other permanents with the same name to its owner's hand for 1 and a blue, which I think is pretty good. You just get to basically bounce something for a turn. Pretty good to stop the game from ending quickly if someone's about to do that. Sylvan Reclamation. 3 green, white. Exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. It's basically one of the only ways to get rid of artifacts and enchantments in this deck. I'm going to quickly go over the mana base now. Okay. Meandering River, Foul Orchard, Timber Gorge, Cinder Glade, Prairie Stream, Canopy Vista, Sunken Hollow, Murmuring Bosque, Stone Quarry, Cascading Cataracts. It's close enough to that. I think this is Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Mountain Valley, Rocky Tar Pit, Evolving Wilds, Smoldering Marsh, Grasslands, Bad River, Floodplain, Frontier Biovac. I think that's how you say that. Opulent Palace. Arcane Sanctum. Mystic Monastery. Savage Lands. Crumbling Necropolis. Jungle Shrine. Nomad Outpost. Sandstep Citadel. Then 3 green, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 plains, and 2 swamp. Very simple mana base, not too expensive. I gotta be honest, this deck's kind of budget. This deck's probably close to, I don't know, $200 maybe. I really don't know. It's not too expensive though. All right, next is the win condition. It's kind of far-fetched, I would say, or not far-fetched. It's when talking about it, it's very easy to immediately think it's going to be easy to do. So Ramos, his biggest problem, the one way they made this card balanced, I would say, is right here, legendary artifact creature, which means any spell that says destroy target artifact can target Ramos. The biggest problem with him, and I'd say his only weakness. So to solve that, you use Mutate, which is the sub-theme of this deck. Now, personally, another way to help us make it so we are not being targeted is with Pramicon Sky Rampart with a green, red, white for 1/5 flying defender. When enters, choose left or right. Each player may attack only the nearest opponent in the chosen direction, and planeswalkers controlled by that opponent. So if you have a weak opponent on your left, choose left, so you can only attack that person. Or if someone's very powerful to your left, choose left, so you can attack them and they can attack you. It's a good card. Good way to save your butt in a situation. Then are the cards that help us win. The Chromanticore for Wooburg is mainly just to make him big. You use the bestow cost instead, giving Ramos flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, lifelink, +4/+4. And yeah, it makes him an 8/8 already, plus all those abilities, which is good. But then we get on to the actual cards that are meant to win you this. Mutants. You use all their mutate costs. So the first thing you do, this is personally what I do. Your entire goal is to get Snap Decks and a Yuna Apex of Wishes. You want both of them. So this is how you play it. You cast Snap Decks first, and you cast him on top. So Ramos is now he still has his ability right here, but now he's a legendary creature, dinosaur cat nightmare with double strike. And he's a 3/5. So he's already better than what he was before because he's double striking with commander damage. That's good. And then you want a Yuna, and you're going to mutate her also onto Ramos, which is now Snap Decks. And you want, for this ability, whenever a creature mutates, which means each time you can use this multiple times in a turn. You get to cascade without it being the same lower mana cost. It's a better cascade, and you put that under so you can retain having Ramos's ability, but you still get this one. And then another good one is your entire goal is basically to get Snap Decks on him so you can give him double strike. But Vardok is a good second choice because he gets flying first strike. First strike is just good. Or Narathi, because he gives him Death Touch and Lifelink. There's one other, and I call these the Apex of Mutates, because Apex of Death, Apex of Thunder, Apex of the Hunt, Apex of the Wishes, and there's one more. Personally, I'm collecting them in all this art style, the comic style, and I love it. I still need Narathi, a Yuna, and then the other one, and I'm all going to get them in the comic style, and then that's how you win. This deck And now I'll go over some good cards to add in from what I do not have, because I either couldn't afford them or don't own them or whatever reason I may have. For creatures, there's three: a Child of Alara, Progenitus, and that other mutate creature, that one of the other apex of mutate creature that is similar to Yuna and the rest of the apex of mutate creatures. Also, any lands, all the tri-lands, would be amazing in this deck. Fetch lands, shock lands, any of that, all would be good. Tomb of the Undead, or whatever that's called, I think it's Tomb of the Undead, would also be good. Basically, anything that makes this deck better, this mana base better, and then those three creatures, and a Soul Ring. And then I think this deck is good to go. Once you build this deck, let me know in the comments what you think about it, or even without building, what do you think about the deck without it being played? At some point, I'll probably make a video showing how the deck plays out. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this Ramos Dragon Engine deck tech.